I can tell you stories of me being the only backend engineer for the first 6 months, and me doing everything. And since we would position ourselves as anti-DDoS for your computer, and we are the target, we would get DDoS nonstop, and I would constantly be running from lunch to the computer, oh no, they took down all the servers. We gotta bring them back up, because we didn't have sophisticated systems back then. So there was a lot of hey, it's less of can we add more machines? It's more the ways users would find a way to abuse our systems, especially in the ways we promote that they couldn't, right? So you make a target on your back, people will try to do it.
Welcome to the Gaming Founders Podcast, a show where we interview the founders that have shaped the gaming industry. I'm Eden, the CEO of Pragma. We build tools for studios to connect with their players and essential services, including First Look, our player relationship platform, Connect, and Engine, our cloud and source-based backends that power many of the world's best studios today. If you have an interest in getting exclusive access to the game industry's best early access games, sign up at playtest.firstlook.gg.
And I'm Kevin Zane, partner at Upfront Ventures. We're a venture capital firm based in LA and San Francisco. I lead game investments both in studios as well as the pick and shovel tools that power game developers and content creators to do their best work, including Pragma. We interview founders on their origin stories, the tactics that help them survive and thrive, and key lessons for anyone interested in building the next generation of leading gaming companies. Learn more and subscribe today at pragma.gg/gamingfounders.
Stan is the founder of Discord and someone I view as a friend and mentor as a builder in the games industry. Discord has over 200 million monthly active users and is one of the most influential companies in games today. In this conversation, we talked through Discord's pivot from a game company to a social platform, how they went from nearly shutting down the company at launch to growing, how to think through speed with large technical decisions, the distractions during COVID that led to a now renewed focus on games, their latest initiatives in quests and their SDK, and the future of Discord. This is only Stan's second recorded podcast, so there are so many fresh nuggets of wisdom throughout this episode. I hope you enjoy this episode with Stan Vishnevskiy. Stan, how are you?
Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, really, really excited for this conversation. I've been a long-time Discord user, was a old Ventrilo user growing up, and was very, very excited when you guys launched a better web tool for us players. Maybe we can start with early days, early background. Where are you from? How did you get into software engineering, games, that side of things?
So where am I from? Originally, I was born in the Ukraine, but I immigrated here really early with my parents when I was 5 to Los Angeles. And most of my childhood was growing up in Los Angeles. It's kind of related to ultimately why I'm into games, I think, because, immigrants coming to the US, American dream, working really hard. That really meant my parents had no time for me to take me to my friends or to hang out. And and as many people know, LA is very large. So I really got online really early, back when the internet was still the Wild West days, and got online on chat rooms. And then I got I think this was early 90s, I think. And then I got on then I found online games, and that was a big game changer for me of wow, I can meet people online, I can make friends, and then I can do things with them. And to me, that was kind of revolutionary as a really young kid. And at the same time, and some of us remember, before the .com boom, everyone wanted to be a software engineer. I was obviously too young for that, but my parents were very excited to try their hand at it. Very not successful, but it gave me the opportunity to go to the classes with them as a really young kid. And I started reading the books, and I was how do I apply this? I was just enamored by I can build stuff. And of course, I tried to make some games myself, but ultimately I was more making websites on game guides and stuff like that. And that's what got me into programming. And then as I started playing games more and more, I got kind of really, my true origin story is I got really deep into Final Fantasy XI, the MMO, and played that really, really, really hardcore, and built tools around that help people come together, bridging Ventrilo and TeamSpeak and message boards. And that's how I kind of married my love of gaming and community at the same time.
You still playing any Final Fantasies these days, or?
I was playing Final Fantasy 14 during the pandemic quite a bit with really help really come same purposes before, couldn't be around friends, really great way to come together, really a lot of bonding moments. Now I had to come from patch to patch, but not as much.
I had read somewhere about moving partly to the US on a heart condition kind of thing. Was that how did that whole thing go down?
Yeah, I mean that was a big part of it. Like we came from the Ukraine. Like my parents grew up in the Soviet Union, and when the Soviet Union collapsed, like you couldn't really get the medical help you needed anymore really easily. And my parents found their way to the U.S. to um, find a cure for my heart condition, which I was born. It was a birth defect; just valves weren't working, and they came to the U.S. like in search of finding a solution to that. And luckily, around I'm like trying to remember when it was. I think when I was 9, I finally got the surgery and permanently solved something that I would have not lived long if it wasn't solved. Um, Fun fact, though, the world is all connected, right? The week I had to wear a monitor to basically prove to my doctors I was fully like well past all of this was early in my early teens, and that was the week Final Fantasy 11 came out. So it was a week I did not have to go to school. So it's all intertwined.
Right. If it wasn't for that week, where would we be?
Yeah.
No Discord. Okay, so you went to school for software engineering, or what did you?
Yeah, I mean, I going back to the immigrant thing, like my parents, it was very important for my parents that I went to college. But at that point, I already had spent so much time building things and like knowing how to write code. But I did end up going to college to Cal State Northridge. It was really close to where we lived, and it was just honestly convenient. Um, I didn't end up finishing. I did drop out because I was instead trying to work on my own thing, which was Guildwork, which we probably end up talking about.
Yeah, so so good segue into Guildwork. What was the sort of thesis? How did that come about?
Well, it was kind of my first attempt at becoming an entrepreneur, right? Going back to what I mentioned earlier, I was building all of these tools to automate my guild and like make it easier to come together, chat more. We're doing all these tools like voice chat, message boards, all this stuff. And funny enough, like all these other guild leaders would come to me and they're like, "Can I buy this from you?" And I ended up selling it a couple times to people because like, oh, cool, like a teenager making money off writing software. And then when I was in college, I was like, is there like a way to make this easier, make this more ubiquitous? Not like literally giving people like a file with a bunch of PHP files and handing it to them. And so I was like, what if this was like a real product, or you just go online, you just set it up, and it just works? And Guildwork was my first attempt. I had a friend with me in college at the time that I met at college in software engineering classes, and he was also passionate about this stuff, and we tried to build it together. And it was very much like we kind of tried to merge social networks with running a guild, and that's why Guildwork, teamwork, that was the name for it. It actually was fairly successful in the community it was in, like the Final Fantasies, basically, but that's a very small group of people. And we did apply to Y Combinator, and while we did get a call back, we did not get accepted. And that's actually what drove me to be like, oh, I think I need to go learn more from people who've done this before, not like, and I just like dropped everything and moved to the Bay Area, in hopes to meet people that I could learn from. Because that's the main thing that you want to do, just learn, absorb, and like figure out how to do the things you want to accomplish.
Is that when you met Jason and their crew, or is that earlier?
No, not exactly. I mean, that's like everything is connected. So I luckily there was people on some message boards that saw what I was working on. They're like, "Hey, I'm working at a company out." At the time was Kabam. They were working at Kabam, which is I think at the time they were a Facebook game company, not even mobile yet. And they were like, "I can get you a job tomorrow. I think you should come up here." And I got a call the next day from Kabam. I flew up. They gave me an offer, and I told my parents, "I'm like, I don't think I need to finish college. I think I can safely move up there." And they were like very supportive. And I just moved up. I worked in the social game space for like about 2 years. And then at one point I was Agree, which is another, at that point, more mobile social game company. And I met some people that Jason knew because Jason had sold his company to Agree, his previous company, OpenFeigned. And one day, like after a while, I got a call from from Jason's like, someone says I need to meet you, and that's how I met Jason.
Wow. What year was that?
2013, I think. It was like 2 years before Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you didn't raise any money for guild work. It was like you bootstrapped it. It sounds like
It was totally like blood, sweat, and tears between classes, and not sleeping that much, and like just like pouring all the passion and learning all the things and overbuilding. Like there's so many things that I did wrong, built too many features, learned too many things that I didn't need to learn at that scale. But it all paid off later. Like, so.
It's I feel like such a great lesson on getting a job for a young person. I feel like I'm like the same way. If I saw someone that was just hustling and built something that was like high taste, high product market fit, even if it was for a really small number of users, I'd be like, that person's got tons of potential, you know?
And for us, we carry that forward here. Like some of our best employees at the company, especially earlier ones, they didn't really even have resumes to their names. All we looked at is like, what was your side project? What was your GitHub like? What did you passionate about? And like that translates to like just insane passion, especially if they're excited about the space, and which we're fortunate in the gaming space to really have that.
All right, so moving on to Discord, I know it was more of a game company to start, right? You guys were trying to
Hammer
make
Chisel.
Yeah. It was actually, I think, called Phoenix Guild for a week before
nice.
I joined. And it was called Hammer and Chisel after, and then eventually Discord. Jason, as I mentioned, Jason called me, and we met up, and he wanted me to join as an engineer on a game, because the company's mission was connecting people through games, which really was my personal mission. That's what I was trying to do with guild work. That's what I was trying to do with all the tools I made before. And like this was like the perfect opportunity to join a successful founder that's done something before, that with awesome people that I can learn from. It's why I moved up to the Bay Area, right?
Right.
And he showed me this game, and while the company's mission was connecting people through games, the idea was, hey, the iPad just came out, and it's like basically a computer. Like, what if we made PC quality games on these mobile devices rather than like the traditional mobile games that were currently the norm at the time? And they showed me the game, and it was a MOBA, like a 2-lane MOBA, and it looked kind of gorgeous, and it ran and looked like a PC game. And I'm like, wow, you guys built this with 5 people? This is super. I forget what the exact number was. But it was super impressive. Like, I think at the time I was still very skeptical whether people want to sit on a tablet for that long.
Mm-hmm.
But like the people were smart, the mission was correct, and those are the most important things. So
there's the MOBA boom then too, League.
Exactly, like it was a MOBA boom. It was a great game. It was a great genre to be in. But luckily, then you join a startup, and you're like, you join for some role you were hired for. But in a startup, there's no roles really, right? If it's really small, it's like whatever you're willing to do and learn and like put your head on. So like I spent the next year and a half working on this game, doing many roles, from building the infrastructure to helping hire designers to brainstorming with Jason on the product. And the game was, honestly, we're very proud of it. It was a critical success. People were like, I can't believe you made this. But it was a commercial failure. Like we didn't get enough players, and the retention wasn't good enough. And we had to take a step back. And that was like the moment where I had like a reflection on everything I've been trying to build and what the company's true north was, of to create a social platform for gaming. Because the thesis was build a game, use that, and then make a platform off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And reflecting on all the stuff that I built extra with guild work, I kind of came to Jason like, I think this is the core of what really enables how people hang out around games, and what we were trying to facilitate with the game, with some of the stuff we built in and out of the game. And he got excited, took a bet on it, and just kind of said, let's go work on Discord, and kind of pivoted the company to it fully many months later. But it was really this bet of like, oh, there's this opportunity that we just saw that kind of felt counterintuitive in 2015, because a lot of it was PC centric. It wasn't just mobile. And people in 2015 is like, isn't desktop, aren't computers like the thing of the past? And we were like,
dead. Don't
think so. So
well, so you were how many years? Is it 2 years in at this point? And how many people and all? What was the state of the company?
Before the Discord part, I think Jason and the team had already been at it for maybe a year and a half or a year or so. And then I think I was part of the game for another year and a half.
It's like 3 years in total.
Yeah, because I think I joined around early 2013, and then the earliest conversations about Discord started in December 2014. So,
What would you say were like the biggest challenges then at that time, over that whatever multi-month period to fully decide, hey, let's go after Discord 100%?
there's two answers to this question. There's the let's go try to build Discord, and then there's the let's focus on Discord. And we had this game studio. We had people whose expertise was art and game design, and it's not just platform building. And that's what people were signed up to do. And that was the company's thesis. That's what we raised. Jason raised money on, and we kept on that track. At the same time, we carved out me and a couple other people, eventually more people, to start building Discord, starting like immediately in like January 2015. And a couple months in, it became pretty. I mean, this is just good advice for anyone. If you are that early and you don't have something that has product market fit yet, doing it two things at once with a small and scrappy team, even if the company is pretty well funded, is probably not. Focus is king. Focus is always king. And once Discord was coming to life and people were getting more excited about it, and it felt like really believable that this is going to work, even Jason made the really tough call to really pivot the company towards it and part ways like with the people that could not contribute to that part of the company. And to me, that was very heartbreaking. I'm like, at the time, because Discord wasn't fully like successful yet, like we haven't got the momentum in motion that we needed to really feel that way. I kind of was like, oh man, I hope like I just didn't cost people their jobs. It was like a really, honestly, it was a very painful moment for Jason to make that call, but definitely, but as well as for me, because I felt responsible for it. Luckily, 10 years later, they all are probably happy that happened because of Discord and the like their ownership in it. So,
what was the team size for the game, and then did it go, do you remember like what it went down from?
I don't have the exact numbers, unfortunately, but it was like late teens was the number of people we had.
Okay,
like, between game development and engineers, and I think it roughly cut about in half because of really the people building the platform and the core fundamentals of the game could contribute to Discord.
Got it. Yeah, I was trying to get a sense of like how big of a company pivot it was. I mean, I feel like that's very common.
I mean, it felt massive at the time because
totally.
Each individual, that's their life, livelihood, and any decision like that is really tough.
That makes sense. So when did you guys go from there to launch then? How long did it take?
It's really hard to think about all this stuff. But our official launch date that we talk about is I think May 15th or 13th. It's one of those dates. Someone is nodding in the room, so it's probably that. So from the first lines of code written in January to launch, it was about 5 months.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it was very much. Like, I was personally thinking about this problem for a long time, so I was ready to go.
Yeah.
Once we said let's do this.
Yeah.
And the reason we call that our launch day was not because that was our launch day. Like the reason we call that our launch day is because that was the moment it started working in practice. Because until that point, we had this functionally correct product. It was roughly what we wanted to be. Like we were taking the opportunity to leverage WebRTC, which was like the magic moment. Like you could use this in a browser. Back then, that was like unthinkable, right? And we had this like the desktop client, but like we could not even get our friends to use it more than the day we asked them to try it. Like they would just lapse. And like if you can't get your friends that are literally the target demographic for your product to use it, then you probably don't have a product. And we whittled that down largely to a couple of missing features, but also the voice chat didn't work sometimes for one person. And if one person can't use it or having trouble, they're all going to go back to whatever they can rely on. Once we figured that out, we were like, okay, we can get them to do this, but like, how do we actually get others to care? And that wasn't really happening. And at a certain point, we were like worried, like maybe people don't care. Maybe our friends just use it because we kept nagging them, right? And the reason the May timeline is our launch date is it was kind of, to an extent, a Hail Mary, to be honest. It was like the night before I went to a friend of mine and someone that used Guildwork, actually. That's why they were a friend. They used Guildwork for their guild. And I was like, hey, I kind of got you to use this thing, but no one else seems to care. Can you just go and like post on Reddit, like your thoughts and ask if anyone else has checked it out, kind of like an instigating kind of thing. And he did it, and you can find that post today, like on Reddit. There's a comment from me after with typos in it that I'm embarrassed about. But he did it the night before, which probably not a great time to post because that's when people was going to sleep. It was on the Final Fantasy 14 subreddit, and I went to sleep, woke up, I looked at it, and it was still on the front page of that Reddit because it's not that popular of a Reddit. But it was at the bottom with no replies, no one cared, and I'm like, oh, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, oh, no one cares. I'm like, did we just do all these decisions and no one cares? And I did this another Hail Mary. I was like, I'm gonna post. I'm like, hey, I'm one of the creators of this. Here's a link with what you know today as a Discord invite link. If you click this, you can come talk to me, and you can ask any questions about this product.
Oh yeah.
And it was directly into a voice channel. So people click it and they hear my voice. And there's something magical hearing a human voice, especially in a browser. It's like, what just happened? And people were started clicking it, and they're like, and I would say hi, and they're like almost jump scared, like, whoa. And then like we start talking, and they start asking questions, and they're like, wow, this is super cool. They go back to the Reddit, they reply, oh, I just spoke to the devs, this is cool. Like an hour or two later, Jason woke up, he joined me, and we just sat there all day, just convincing one by one to try this product. And all of them would go back to the Reddit, and they would just say, like, I had this conversation, this is dope, I'm going to try it. And that day, I think we ended up with 100 new users just from that. And then we woke up the next day, and there was like more than that. And then the next day was more than that. And then it was like, oh, crap, this is working. And that was like this moment of like, oh, thank God we were right. And it kind of goes to show you, like, you can do everything right, and people still won't care. And like, there's so many things that have to come together. So,
is it a persistence that I'm trying to think? Is this like, obviously you already had some product market fit, but no one really knew about the product.
Yeah, but like sometimes you can be diluted with product market fit if you can you can force your friends into using it, or people that will just do it because you asked them to. It's really when people will start recommending to others, right? And I think there's a balance, because like you can work on something for a while because you believe in it, and like often that's how great things get created. But there's probably some point where you've grinded so long it actually probably isn't working. And the trick, and if there was an answer to this, people would know the answer. The trick is to know when to stop and pivot. And honestly, that's the kind of point we were at. We were like, okay, maybe this is not working.
Yeah.
And that last attempt at getting to people to care and getting people to understand and help shape our strategy, because our go-to-market strategy was literally shaped by the success of that moment. Because after that, we
invite link.
It was the invite link, but it was also how do we leverage super fans? Because if you think about it, what we did is we made people feel special by actually caring, showing that we care about the same things, to make them our evangelists. Like they would go and recruit others for us. Then we then repeated that. Like we started doing AMAs, we started talking to them. And we had to take Jason's Twitter away at one point because he just could not stop replying to people, right? And it wasn't scaling. We just kept doing that. And then we repeated the same strategy with influencers, with Twitch streamers, of like, what are your problems? How do we help you? And then they became our evangelists. We created a Discord partner program. It was just like fully rolled into how we built our product and interacted with our users.
Did you guys try to position against some of the, like the TeamSpeaks, the Ventrilo, Skypes, or is that not a helpful strategy?
It definitely worked for us early on. Like we don't do this now because we are very much our own thing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, like one important thing was that we went talking to the people, like what are their actual pain points. Obviously, for Ventrilo and TeamSpeak, our vision was like, hey, these are amazing primitives of how people hang out, but they're hard to set up. They cost money, which most games, especially with free-to-play games being a thing, people aren't spending on these things anymore. How do we make sure we can make this more accessible, easier to use? That was definitely a point. But as we did this, and we started to realize other pain points. So, for example, we noticed with Skype, a lot of people are using Skype for League of Legends. Because it's free to play, that was the easiest way to jump in and get on voice chat with your friends. But a bunch of users when they get triggered, they would just DDoS each other because Skype was peer to peer, and like they would take down their internet, and then this would happen to streamers. And then we realized, oh, because of our client to server architecture, like you can only DDoS Discord, and we have the capacity to eat the DDoS. So we started positioning of like how we're less resource intensive, how we can protect you from DDoS, and that really like identifying these pain points that you might not know at the time of building your product, but once you realize why people are choosing you as additional benefit, you just lean into that, and we would often do that. So that's what caused us to lean into some anti-positioning with TeamSpeak because it also helped contextualize like what we are.
I don't remember too. Was there a server concept at the time, or was it just?
Yeah.
Oh, there was. Okay.
Funny enough, actually, we didn't have a friend list for the first year. We only had servers.
Yeah, that's why I was so confused early on. I remember because Skype was always one. It was just
yeah. But we made a bet that the server primitive and hanging out in a voice channel and not calling was something magical to gaming. That really wasn't, we didn't invent it. We just made it more mass market, right? And we doubled down and made it even better over the years. But we really believed that was a much more gaming-centric experience than just calling someone. So,
how did sort of scaling technically work with that? I mean, I imagine that was probably an engineering challenge that was pretty considerable given, like, how did it inflect and did you guys run into any like massive scaling issues?
For sure. So I think like I can tell you stories of me being the only backend engineer for the first like 6 months and me doing everything. And like, since we would position ourselves as anti-DDoS for your computer and we are the target, we would get DDoS nonstop. And I would constantly be running from lunch to the computer like, oh no, they took down all the servers. We gotta bring them back up because we didn't have like sophisticated systems back then.
Yeah.
So like, there was a lot of like, hey, it's less of like, can we add more machines? It's more like the ways users would find a way to abuse our systems,
right.
Especially in the ways we'd promote that they couldn't, right? So like, you make a target on your back, people will try to do it.
Yeah.
So that was like the main thing. The other thing is like, we are primarily a chat app in the West. How many chat apps in the West do you know that are successful businesses? And while we had a vision for how we might monetize game distribution, which we can get into later, like we were many years away from that, and we had to build a very cost-efficient, highly scalable service that we could provide and not run out of money. And so making it efficient, making it scalable was just at the essence. So like that was just built into it. It's more how people would abuse the systems. The thing that came next, which was super interesting, is how people began to use Discord beyond what it was originally designed to do. Because originally it was designed to replace a Skype call, a Ventrilo server. So it's like, we need to make sure it works for like 25, 50 people. And then like 2 months in, like these Reddits just started adopting us and like putting 1,000 people in them. And we're like, it's kind of working, but not really. And to be honest, that's been like a multi-year journey because someone has been able to find a new ceiling. The most recently would be Marvel Rivals or Midjourney, which now have like 25 million people on their servers.
Jeez. How
many chat products do you know they can have 25 million people in a chat room? So it's actually a unique thing we have, but that's been the thing that's been from a technical perspective, one of the most challenging to scale. So,
I mean, one of the things I feel like our team always struggles with is like trying to understand which decisions are like immutable or like that have, really long-term ramifications versus how you move fast and get, obviously you guys got Discord out quite quickly, but you had some architectural decisions.
I can comment on that.
Yeah.
I mean, like we are very fortunate. Like, I don't like some of it is luck, maybe some of it is intuition. A lot of technology we chose really early, and it's still probably the best thing you can choose today, and that's really paid off for us. But early on, we actually made choices that were temporarily but intentionally, and you can actually go on our engineering blog. Post by me of like, here's how we chose X, but we knew we were going to move to Y, and this is how we paved the path. And then there's posts like 7 years later, and like, here's what we finally got to that final state of what we said we would do. And it was like 7 years apart. One of our most famous blog posts is how Discord stores billions of messages because we allow messages to live forever for free. And there was a journey of how we built on top of MongoDB, which we knew would not be how we would build Discord long term. But it was so flexible at iterating quickly. We're like, this is what we're going to use for the first year or so, and then we're going to move to Cassandra. Like we knew that. Like we knew that was our path. And at the time, we also knew that Scylla, even faster Cassandra variant, was just nascent. We were like, oh, by the time we run the road with Cassandra, because we knew what its limitations would be with like Java and all this stuff, we knew that we were betting that Scylla would be mature. And today, most of Discord runs on Scylla. That was actually, you can read a blog post, I think, from like 2016, 2017, of laying this out to where we are today. And it's literally the roadmap. So it's just don't take one-way doors whenever you make a decision. Understand what the two-way is. What is your next step if you're making a technical compromise? And we try to ingrain that in a lot of decisions we even make today. Because I want people to not be afraid to move quickly, but be thoughtful while you do it. Like,
yeah, because it seems to me that like a database decision would be quite foundational. So that would almost feel like, oh, if you knew you were going to switch to Cassandra, then you shouldn't. It's like that's a really hard thing to, especially after you have so many people. But it obviously you guys were able to make that transition. It seems like.
But it goes to show, like, just like know what your pathways are, know what your options are. Don't like make a decision and not know how you might move past that decision.
Yeah.
And this is hard to do even today. People sometimes make decisions and they really move fast and they make something impactful, but then we're like, oh, how do we actually roll this out beyond experiment? This is not cost effective. And then we get stuck in this loop of like, do we ship this even though we know it could be impactful, and how do we do it? And I think that's been the biggest trap sometimes for us. So,
were you involved in the fundraising stuff at all? Kind of curious, like as you guys moved to the next phase, how that happened.
That's the honestly the beauty and exciting part of my role as a co-founder has been largely in helping build the product and help partner with Jason to build the vision.
Yeah.
Luckily, he previously had an exit, so he was already like much easier time fundraising, and he had already raised money for the game, which we ultimately transformed into Discord. And once Discord was kind of taken off, he handled all the fundraising, and it often was a much easier activity due to the time period and to the curve of the user chart. So I didn't really have to participate in that.
I was just thinking like maybe the narrative of like you guys are growing user base fast, but the kind of what you mentioned, like, oh, no one's going to monetize this stuff. Like, how are you actually going to make money? And I guess at the time it was just so fast that people figured out.
I mean, we had a vision of a plausible vision of how we were going to make money, and we had the runway to get there, which was, we're like, hey, if we make an amazing product for people to hang out with friends, like we do believe we have an opportunity to help those friends play different games and like discover more games. And at the time, Steam had been so dominant.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, what if there was more competition? Like, so if you have the user base, you can compete. Obviously, looking back on not on us, but other people, that is not a strategy that's worked out. Steam is an amazing product that works really well.
Yeah.
But like we had a very plausible path on what we thought we would do, and people believed in that vision. We believed in it, and people believed in it. Funny enough, today we're showing that we can help people play more games with their friends just through our Quest product. So we are good at that. It's just in a different way.
Well, I'm curious about that store product because I remember when that came out. I don't remember what year it was, but I had always been like, oh, obviously this is going to make sense, and it seemed like it was rolled out for a really short amount of time, and then you guys pulled it out. What happened there? Like, why did you guys decide not to keep going as opposed to?
I'll say it was both one of the toughest times at the company, but also one of the most ones we're proud of, and we still reference to this day. And I give so much credit to Jason as well on like having the conviction to do this. Like we were on this path to build this game store, and in the beginning of 2018, when the January rolled over, we're like, we are large enough. We believe this is the time to not pivot, but like focus attention of the company to do this next stage. And we're launching in 9 months a full game store. Like we're starting today to we're going to build all the APIs that are needed. We're going to build all the infrastructure that's needed. We're going to get all the partners, and we're doing this in 9 months. It was a crazy thing. And I think at the time we were still sub 100 people. The company was relatively small.
Okay.
And it was a fun year. We did build it. We built like all the things you need to run a game store, all the things you need to power a game if it was on our game store. We actually did a test in a country, and it honestly did not look that good. But we were like, oh, like it's one country. People are like, I'm not going to trust this as long as it's not a global thing. So we then made some tweaks based on feedback, and we did our official launch in October, and it didn't go as we had planned. Like people were like, what we were seeing is people largely don't want to buy an alternative game store, one that they don't fully trust. And we were actually driving more sales probably to Steam because people like see something on our store and be like, oh, this is a dope game. We're going to go buy it on Steam.
It's like a discovery thing. Yeah.
And then at the same time, that was the year Fortnite took off, right? And Epic decided, oh, we're going to use this money to help game developers by lowering fees and competing in the storm space. We didn't have that level of capital because now exclusives came to the PC space. They didn't exist before. Yeah. So now it's like a capital war. And we were like, we don't have that.
Yeah.
We didn't have the right early results. And as painful as it was, like how we've been talking about it for years, this is where we're headed.
Right.
Jason was like, we just launched this. We just spent 9 months basically focusing almost solely on this.
Yeah.
We have to shut it down. And because this is not the path to success, as tough as it is. And that's what we did. We in just a couple months, we were like, we're going to shut it all down and we're going to focus the company on an alternative path. That's what took us to really doubling down on Nitro and all the things, which worked out phenomenally well.
So what was the... I imagine the store was this sort of North Star for a long time.
Yeah.
Like after you shut it down, what was the new North Star mainly like continue to build this, like the social component of things to be the greatest experience, or like how did that...
Or going beyond games or...
Yeah. So I think this is the time where we had to really reflect because we already had Nitro at the time, but it was like a very small, like nascent product that like our super fans are using. But when we took a step back and we're like, this thing is making a lot more money than we ever thought it would. And we were basically building a couple features into it once a year around the holidays and just like moving on. And we were like, wow, this is covering a good chunk of our burn. And like, we don't really invest in it. Like, what if this became the thing? Because like when we talked to our users, like they were paying for it because Discord meant so much to them. And like Nitro was just not only a way to support us, but also make Discord even better for themselves. And they felt comfortable paying for it because Discord provides them so much value. And so we surveyed our users and talked to a lot of people. And we're like, clearly that we can probably monetize the chat product itself because our user base and the way it's their home, it's so important to them. Like if we keep investing in the product and have a premium version of it, people will spend. And if we actually invest in the premium version and not just once a year, there's a lot more opportunity here. At the same time, we also got like a lot of feedback and research from our users where they're like, Discord is so much more than gaming for me. And to us, like, oh, this is like the perfect opportunity. Not everyone will pay for Nitro, but if we had a larger TAM and more people were using Discord because we were seeing it for open source communities, for just people like running their families and all this random stuff, that's more people that could convert to Nitro. So that's when we started our journey of how do we make Discord more approachable to more than gaming. This was right before the pandemic and shelter in place. That just like happened as we were doing this and kind of just turbocharged everything. But at the same time, and this is really important, like having a clear vision of who your actual customer is. Like what I just described is like, well, Discord's for everyone, right? Even if you say for a certain type of need, it's like it sounds like it's for everyone, and that really, really loses the focus of who you're building for. Like, and it really makes it harder for a larger company as a whole to make localized decisions that are all aligned in one direction. And while we benefited greatly from the pandemic and people playing more games and hanging out online, like it really kind of distracted us quite a bit and like took us in many directions. But Nitro stayed focused on the core and grew into a pretty large business. So that was the one place we like truly stayed focused in a great way.
Yeah, that feels like a narrative that jives with what I felt like was going on within Discord, but I never like knew because like in my mind, especially with all the Web3 stuff happening in, post-pandemic, it kind of felt like Discord was kind of like, for a second, just all over the place in terms of, like everyone was using Discord for Web3 stuff, guild management, all that. And it seemed to have gotten away from games. And now it seems like it's pulled back.
Yeah. And there's an interesting thing there because we've always had this philosophy, even during we're 100% gaming focused, which is gaming is really usually first to a lot of behaviors and things that other people in the industry adopt. So the best thing we could do is optimize our decision making for gaming and what the people who play games need. Like, we deeply understand them because we are those customers.
Yep.
But we should never do that in a way that is alienating to other use cases, because people who play games do other things. So if they could
Right.
use Discord for slightly more, like than their gaming needs, it actually makes the product more valuable to them.
Yeah.
And that's why all these things thrive on Discord. What we really reflected on is, during this period we just talked about, we kind of flipped the script. We just like focused on what helps the use case that we were focusing on at the time. And what's important right now is people still use Discord for a lot more than gaming. But as a company, about a year and a half ago, we decided we're going back to our primary customer is gaming, but we're still going to build in a way that's not alienating. And now we took that one click up, because if you look at the way we position, the way we talk about ourselves, you don't see the word gamer on our websites. You do see player and hanging out, but people who play games actually don't like being called gamers largely. And actually that itself is alienating. So like, the way we talk about ourselves is inclusive of these other use cases, but our core focus is gaming.
Yeah, no, I just have felt that as a player, even the refocus on gaming.
How does it feel now as a user?
Well, yeah, no, I could feel that. I mean, it's really that's such a cool top-down story, because I could feel the shift, I feel like. And so, like, in terms of even your focus as a company, I guess, which leads us into kind of the evolution of Discord and what you're doing today. You guys recently, I know I spoke to Joe Tong at Theorycraft over at GDC, and he had mentioned quests being one of the highest ROI activities that they had participated in during their launch. So I'm curious, sort of like, how both Quest and SDK, which are new products for you guys, how did they come about? What was the vision for them? What are you kind of seeing in early phases of that?
Yeah, I mean, great question. And I think it really goes back to like when you know who your customers are, and things fall into perspective of how you might view them differently. So one major change for us, as we decided we're going to refocus on gaming, is also that our customer was not just going to be the player. Because before, it was largely the player except for the game store period. And this time, like, what Discord was grown into is it's really like the center of, like, you could think all stakeholders in the gaming ecosystem meet on Discord. Like, people build their games on Discord. They talk with their fans on Discord. They literally build the super fan strategy on Discord, similar to the way we did it when we built Discord ourselves. And then players hang out with their friends. So, like, how do we think about the player and the developer side? And one thing that was clear to us as players is that, like, games are increasingly more social, more and more social. Like, it's so cool to see more co-op games coming out as well, not just PvP games.
Yeah.
It's harder than ever to build a game. Games are more cross-play, so like and like the platforms are so fragmented. So, like, how do we like solve that problem? Because we think, because of our neutrality as like a platform that sits across everything, felt we were best positioned to solve that. And at the same time, well, hopefully we can raise like how long people play, how people play, how they make friends on games. How do people discover games? Because, like, right now, it's like there's so many games being built. It's really hard for games to get players to get reached and the games to be discovered. How can we also help with that? So, like, these two products came out of that. But the interesting part about Quest is actually it started as a way to help people stream more together, because we wanted people to have more game time and help game developers.
Well, maybe walk people through what Quest is.
Okay, great question. So Quest, like, at the simplest form, it's a rewarded app product, because it's very building for players is like, you have to be careful, because like it's an audience that really, you have to know. You can't just advertise to them, because like it just doesn't work. So how do we create like a win-win-win scenario? Like, we always talk about win-win-win at the company. Like, the SDK is win-win-win. The Quest product is win-win-win. And what that means to us is, like, how do all parties involved get a benefit from this interaction? Like, game developers gets more players. The player gets some kind of reward, whether it's an in-game skin or a like currency on Discord for a decoration. And Discord, obviously, in this case, makes money off promoting. So Quest is a rewarded app product where a developer can say they want to target certain types of players for their game. It could be returning to a game. It could be a brand new game. And as a result, for the player participating in that quest, they get something, whether it's in-game. That is what Quest is as a whole. Currently, we have play quests and video quests. So play quest is great for, hey, play this game for 15 minutes, stream this game for 15 minutes to your friends, and you get a reward. Great for re-engagement or stuff like, or the game just launched. And then we have video quests, which is like, watch this video for, and then you get the reward. And this is great for trailers, like early access announcements, stuff like that, where people can't play the game yet. And like people have found them to be remarkably great because like the audience is so engaged, and they are the content is so direct what they actually care about, but they're also getting rewarded for it. So like every party involved has been like happy, to the point where it is an advertising product. But if you go on a Reddit, people are often mad because a quest did not target them because they actually wanted the reward. So people are like, why is this ad not targeting me? And that just means we made a product, not just an ad, that people actually love.
Right.
And we could only build it this way because we knew which audiences we were serving and how game developers and players want to interact together.
That's great. And then on the SDK front, you announced it at GDC. I guess what is it, and what does like uptake look like so far?
Yeah. We're calling it the social SDK now. It used to have a different code name, which is a little bit cooler, but not a great name for external. Like our vision has been like, we are really good at building social products and infrastructure. We just talked about the scaling and all of that. These really hard problems. Most players spend time on Discord, but not all. And the question is like, could we give our infrastructure to game developers to really power their social features? And we don't mean like an SDK of like put Discord in your game. It's more like, could we actually power your friend list, your chat, your voice chat, like all these social components. Those are the main things. And these things need to work without Discord, because like you can't gate it without you can't gate this product on Discord on a Discord account, because not everyone uses Discord. But the beauty of the SDK is like for people who do use Discord, if they link their account, they bring Discord into the game and bridge the game and Discord. So like we're basically at no cost allowing use our infrastructure to power all the social features that some of them have to be operate at high scale, free of charge. And then Discord users can actually enrich their experience in game and then bridge the two. The beauty of this is now that people that meet in game and want to have durable relationships, even if they don't meet on Discord, they can now talk. And often when a game session ends, people turn off the game and the social features of the game are gone until people come back. Now, if one of the players is offline and someone else is in game, they can message that player and tell them to play, and their Discord or their Discord mobile app will basically pop up saying, "Hey, want to play?" And it really, is increasing. In early partners, it's really increasing game time, both for Discord and some of the developers. So it's been really exciting to see. We have a lot of uptake, and we have a lot of games in the pipeline. We announced some early ones like PAX Day and Supervive and 1047 Splitgate 2 is coming soon. There's many more. So we're very, very excited about like just the interest in it.
I might be misremembering, but wasn't there at some point in history you guys also were building a similar-ish SDK product? I'm just curious sort of what's different this time, and it seems to be working now.
Yeah. So I think what you're remembering is this was like probably 2016.
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
very new to the space. Like one, we didn't have the credibility to do this at the time. It was called GameBridge, and the vision was very similar, but it was just a voice chat SDK. It was like, can you use our voice chat tech in your game? The real problem we saw is like a lot of games didn't want to partner with us because we were seen as like a new entity, potentially as someone they don't understand yet. Who are we going to become? Who are we going to be? So it's the right place, right time. Like people didn't know if they should trust us with this core infrastructure. At the same time, we didn't have a clear vision of how this is anything more than middleware. Because of powering voice chat in a game, that's just middleware. It's not actually, it helps the game developer with getting a free thing, but doesn't actually enrich the experience for both the game and Discord. And in this case, we're both providing infrastructure and middleware, but we're also enriching the experience for the players who want an enriched experience. So it's kind of And now we're a known entity where like we just talked about, where all stakeholders meet. People know what we stand for and know whether they can trust us or not to provide this, both from a technical level, but also who we are.
We're making a big bet on both First Look onboarding people onto Discord and our cloud product onboarding people onto your SDK.
There you
Absolutely.
go. There you go.
So no, it's been fun to chat a lot more with your team and see what you guys. I mean, we've been working in the developer space for a long time, which is, it's different than the player space, and I think it's very welcome. That more folks are coming in to help developers ship games because we were talking right before this podcast started about how hard making games is right now for people, and anybody that can help make that discovery process better, building process cheaper and faster, player experience better. It's
cheaper, faster, but also just moving the things away that actually don't differentiate games. To be honest, like the creativity is what differentiates games. The unique experiences. Often the social components are solved problems. There's no reason to recreate them. There's no reason to do that. And we wake up every day trying to make the best social product. That's what we care about. And so how do we just enable that?
Yeah, would love to hear your thoughts a bit, Stan. What's in store for the next, not just year or two, but how you think about this vision for Discord for the next many years.
We're a bit more pragmatic about like where we want to go. We don't usually do like grandiose statements, but if you pull the thread of what we just talked about, like we are really today, I would argue we are very good at helping people hang out with their friends while playing games. And we can always make that more approachable, like innovate in ways how you do that. And we are going to continue doing that. But if you pull the thread on how we're also working with developers and like helping with game discovery and helping them build games, like we're like just at the beginning of that. Like in the next couple of years, maybe some of it at the end of this year, you'll start seeing Discord appearing in much larger, more established games as a way that it connects in and out of the game. And that's really going to enable to really create out-of-game experiences of how the game shows up on Discord, how people can represent themselves, how people show up, how people interact with the game and their friends with their own game. Like, I'm really excited about all the opportunities that facilitates because people hang out, they care about their identity as players. How can we make that better? How we can make that easier? I'm just excited for you all to see that. I can't really share the full details of it, but you'll see the beginnings of it, and then how do we double down on that? And then something that we really care about is about helping developers. There's a lot of things that developers do today, building their communities on Discord, engaging with players. How do we partner with all the people in the ecosystem that are trying to make that easier and like work together with them to do that? Like such as like your First Looks of the world, right? Really excited how we can make that all better and more seamless. And again, how can the SDK make that even better? Because it will be bridging between the game and Discord. And then we're just really excited about the Quest business and how it's going to evolve. Like you just mentioned, Joe was like, this is the best campaign they've ever run. Before Quest was a product and we ran it as more of a incentive thing for streaming on Discord, that's the same answer we got. And it just goes to show that we have something that's already magical and just how it's going to expand, how we can help. Like today, you see we're working with a lot of large game publishers and some smaller ones. The true north is how we make this available to all game developers, no matter what size, and just make it really good at bringing the right games to the right people in a way that makes sense for each type of game developer. And it's going to be a journey to get there, but I'm so excited about it because it's just so tough to find the right people to play your games.
Yeah, no, it's good. I wonder, it's like almost like it almost feels like there's some reincarnation of the Steam idea. I not in the same, obviously not in the same form factor, but seems like going back to, GameBridge, and then also like you guys obviously launched that side of things.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if you think it's right place, right time, we have no desire to be a distribution business. Like
totally.
we are not going to do that again. But some of the things we mentioned, like while trying to be a distribution business, we realized we actually are really good at pointing people at content they care about. And so like, how can we help really bridge that? And then the SDK is the same thing, right place, right time. Like we have the infrastructure, we have a deeper understanding what our users care about, what developers care about. Like we joke about this internally. We're just like rewinded back 6 years, but that's just kind of life is just a journey of events that kind of make up the current moment. And like, just because it's possible today doesn't mean it was possible before. And we're really excited that some of the things we dreamed of back then are possible now.
Makes sense. All right. So moving on to the lightning round, we'll start with what is something you consumed recently that you really like? Could be like media or book or something like that.
I beat Blueprints yesterday, which everyone was like, this is a great game. I normally don't. I'll be honest, in general, I don't like roguelites, but in the last 2 weeks, I've played multiple. So maybe I'm like on a new kick. But Blueprints was a very unique experience that like I've definitely told other friends to play.
What about something outside games?
I'll be honest, I'm playing a lot more games recently because we're like integrating games. So I'm like, I got to play more games to really understand.
It's nothing else.
I got to watch shows and stuff, but it's not worth it. Games like the most top of mind thing right now, to be honest. So
amazing.
Do you have a productivity hack that you recommend?
I don't know if it's a real productivity hack, but it's something that's like I just like started doing. I like every Sunday night I just lay out a to-do list for the week. I just like look at the week and I plan for it. This is more maybe when you have a lot of going on. At a certain point, I'm like, I don't know what I need to make sure I get done this week because it's just so much. So now every Sunday night I just sit down and like this is my plan for the week, and it really helps focus me and like say no to other things.
Do you literally do it on like paper, or is there any tools you use?
I used to use just like to-do apps, but now that I have an executive assistant who's in the room with me, we just use Asana because that way sometimes I can assign some of them to him.
Yeah. That works.
But most of them are for me though. So.
What about the opposite? Is there sort of a best way for you to relax and wind down a bit?
Don't say games
way
again.
For me to relax. I mean, I'm always thinking and always working. The best way that I found to relax is to force myself to actually go on a vacation and then wait 2 days until I finally disconnect. So like and I'm one of those people that actually hates the idea of going on vacation because I'm like, oh, all this shit that I'm not going to finish. But I kind of forced myself to disconnect and after 2 days.
All right. Biggest lesson from a mentor? I think you mentioned you had a coach before.
Yeah.
Anything? Yeah.
I still have a coach. I mean, I don't know if this is the biggest lesson from a mentor coach thing. Like the toughest thing for me was at the core. I was a builder. I was an IC, but I always like, I'm in a role that like is running large teams and like not knowing whether I would be good at that, even though in retrospect, running large guilds is not that different in video games. But doing 360s with this coach and helping him help me think through what I was good at, what I was bad at, what people valued, how I might approach things was a really fundamentally important thing. The reason that was important is one thing I've done that I would recommend any founder do, especially with imposter syndrome, which a lot of founders have, especially technical founders. Don't get into your own head. Find peers to talk to and ask what their problems are. Because you might find that one, it gives you some confidence, like, oh, I've dealt with some of these problems and I did them well and I can help this person. Or they might help you and you just start realizing like what you're good at, when you're not good at. And it really helps build that confidence in like being in a role that might not have the same feedback loop as like writing code or getting a game prototype. And that's been important. I'll tag on to that. I forget who said this to me. They were like a executive at some big social media company, but I was talking about imposter syndrome in the role. This was like 2 years in. So this is before like Discord was that big. And I was like, I just always worried that I'm doing the wrong things and I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And they said to me, it's like, you are where you are now because of the decisions you've made, and you've made them because of the unique way you look at the world. And that's already valuable. Like, don't take that for granted. And that helped me doubt my decisions a little less and feel more confident in saying things and saying no to things that someone who looks like they have more experience than me might say, because normally I would just defer to them. So that was very valuable.
And we always end with this cornerstone question. If you could go back, in this case, to founding and really kind of that Discord, product idea and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
This is a tricky question, because what I will say is like, my immediate reaction is like, don't get distracted during COVID or during shelter. But I hesitate to say that because like what I said earlier, because like those events are probably what shaped where we are now. And there's no guarantee that would be in a better place if we didn't go through those moments. So like, that's what I'd want to say, but I'm not sure I would say it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's an amazing success story. I think millions and millions of people have benefited from the Discord product, and I'm really, I mean, just as a fan, like as a personal fan, excited to see what you guys do next. So thank you for joining us.
awesome. Well,
Thanks a lot, Stan.
thank you for having me. It was a pleasure, and have a great rest of your day.